Welcome to the What's Already podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts Mattson Heiner,
better read than dead,
and Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate, as always, you tuning in, come joining us live, watching and listening after the fact. Go ahead and hit the like, follow, subscribe button. Tell a friend about us. Hit that bell notification so you can keep up with all of our live episodes. We're gonna have to. We only got one live show after the. I mean. Once a week.
We're dwindling down. TV's taking a turn for the worse, or I don't know.
Slow for the slow anyway.
So much free time, guys.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm not gearing up for 3 episodes every other day, and I don't know what to do. So I have a couple of ideas I'm looking into that might be worth doing, at least just adding one more so we're live on Mondays again. So I'll let you guys know. I'm going to watch an episode today and see what I think. But
sweet.
Yeah, so with that, though, we're here to talk about the season finale, episode 10 of House of the Dragon season 1. And what a finale it was. We get the flip side of last week where we saw mostly Alicent and the Greens preparing their side of this conflict that in reality could have avoided being a conflict. If it weren't for, like, I've decided that they've taken this, and the book doesn't go into a lot of details per se, like specifics, but it outlines a certain set of perspectives for this whole situation. And they've stuck pretty well to a lot of it. I like the perspective change to where it's more about the especially these 2 women that are leading each side of the Greens and Blacks and how everything is playing out. But it's become like almost a comedy of errors, like where it's just like things that where they don't indicate why they happened, or it's all speculation as to what really happened. And then now you see them in this show and they're giving more context, which is cool. And it also allows it to be this, like I said, a comedy of errors, these things that in all honesty play out in the worst possible way, even though they weren't intended to be in the worst possible way. So it's really interesting how the take on it. So far, like I said, I've really enjoyed it. I think it was a great finish to the season. I
still think stuff. Episode 9 was better, in my opinion. It had more of what I was worried about kind of came to fruition for me. Episode 10 was great. Don't get me wrong. I saw I could tell what was going to happen at the end. The twist, it didn't kind of catch me off guard. Where in 9, I did not expect the tens of hundreds or thousands of common folk to die because this dragon popped out of the ground. So the wow moment didn't hit me like 9 did. It was still intriguing enough, but I do think 9 definitely carried more of the wow moment for me, but still happy with it, the way things ended.
Yeah, you see the official start of the Dance of Dragons at the end of this episend, because it's all been
freaking there was no contest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was but that and it's interesting because even in the book, like, it talked about how that was the first real stroke. Luke dying is it, like, and it doesn't give it the twist. And the twist of this is that Aemond wasn't intending to do that, right? Like, his intention wasn't to kill him. It was to fuck with him, to frighten him, to scare him, to mess with whatever it was, to actually get him to carve an eye. And it comes out a little differently in the book. So in the book, he throws a knife to him and says, do it. And then Boros Baratheon says, knock it off, and then runs him out. And then his future wife, Aemon's future wife, like, taunts him, was like, did he cut your balls off too when he cut your eye out? And then Aemon gets all pissed off and asks Boros if he can go do with it. And Boros says, whatever happens outside of my castle, I don't give a shit. Just don't let it happen in my castle. So that's how. And then it's never implied. It's talk about in fact, the words in the book, I believe, is if there was a fight, it didn't last long, because technically Arax could have outran Vagar on a clear day. easily, actually. Much smaller, much faster, much more nimble dragon, which they show. But the storm, because of his size, made it hard for Arax to navigate and get away. Whereas the storm doesn't mean shit to Vhagar. It's just some water and wind.
Still just flapping those giant wings.
Yeah. But it gave some really cool visuals, like the whole like shadow of the clouds flying above. Yeah, it was I really liked what they did with it. Yeah, more to come, but
I really enjoyed that change where they made it seem like Aemon, really did not want this to happen, because it's a callback to earlier in the season with Viserys, who is pretty much the only person alive currently who realizes using dragons is a dumb idea, and that the illusion of control is just that, it's an illusion. Maybe that's because he was the last rider of Balerion. I don't know. But, we see now that you have this rift where Rhaenyra is the only one who really believes this, passed down from her dad. But the Greens are full Hightower. Dragons equal power. We're using dragons. And you can see it in the show. Like, Aemon's like, oh, no, I messed up. I messed up big time. And they get it where, there's no control of dragons. The dragons just do their own thing. And the dragons are the one who start the dance.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy, too, because I like the twist that they show where, yes, Arax goes off and hits Vhagar with this fireball. But at the same time, like, he was able to get control of Arax. Whereas the difference is Vhagar is a war-torn dragon. This is a dragon that went to war multiple times. Like, this is a member of the trio that took the Seven Kingdoms. This dragon knows war. So as soon as it took a fireball to the face, Vhagar's like, nah, that shit ain't good. That shit don't fly around here. And it was instant. Like you said, Aemon couldn't control. It was done. Like, Vhagar's like, nope, this is happening. Should have controlled Arax a little better. You know what I mean? So it was an interesting, I love that point as well, and it's going to get worse because now Daemon's flirting with Vithrion, which is a riderless dragon. Not wild. He was ridden by Lucerys, King Lucerys. So Viserys' grandfather rode. So this is also a war familiar dragon.
Is it a big one, I'm assuming?
Second biggest outside of Vhagar on the.
And then who was the biggest one? Was what's that one called again? That's
Balerion, the Black Dread.
And was that thing even bigger than Aemon's one? That was just like giant, because Aemon's one's huge, but the other one looks even bigger. That's dead.
Vhagar was small compared to Balerion. Like, Balerion, they literally called the Black Dread. It was the oldest dragon, biggest dragon. Its skull, they talk about it, there's a book, and it's not the one that this is all written from, but there's like a history book of the Targaryens that talks about the fact that Balerion made the other two dragons that were part of the conquering, like, look youthful. He was so big. Like, yeah, this guy, they talked about, they called him Balerion the Black Dread, and he blacked out the sun when he flew over places.
How did you get on that dragon? My goodness.
Yeah, he was big boy. So, but yeah, the one that Daemon was singing to. Now, I'll be interested. I'm not going to give anything away, but it's not Daemon in the book. This is the only thing I'll say is Daemon doesn't ride that dragon in the book. So I'm interested to see how they play it out, if they're going to go with how the book rolls that, or if they're going to swap, because Daemon stays on Caraxes forever because they have that relationship. And they've shown in the show how deep Caraxes and then how deep Rhaenyra has with their relationship with Cyrax, I think it's Cyrax or Syrax or something like that. Carax and Meraxes, like, their relationships are very different than even Aemon and Vhagar's or the kids and their dragons that they've grown up with, because those two have been riding those dragons since they were kids. So it's there's a connection there that even though there wasn't full control ever because they're wild animals, there's still an understanding and a connection there that's very different. So, yeah. I'm interested. Like I said, I'm interested to see what they do, but there are more dragons to come next season for sure. So,
sweet. So what happens with Velaryon? Because I feel like he and Rhaenys just continually are testing Rhaenyra to see how she's going to respond and what she's going to do, because he pretty much handed her the stepstones on a silver platter with the blockade of King's Landing, but he didn't give that information until he'd felt her out, at least at first, for what her plans were.
Yeah, so if they stick to the book, now that this has happened, they're fully committed. The Valerians and Rhaenys, there's never a question about it in the book, but again, there's very little context. It just talks about the different sides of the Civil War. So, and the Valerians and Rhaenys were on the Blacks. They were allied to the Blacks. So, I would assume that that's where it sticks. And I think Valerian, as we saw, and I like that they showed it in the episode where he's like, nah, I don't want to be involved. But then it was, she's the best of us, right? Like, she's the best choice. While Alicent in and of herself isn't necessarily a bad choice to lead or rule in a certain way, Aegon's a freaking moron. So
that was probably my favorite scene when Otto comes to Dragonstone. Yeah. And his reasons for why Aegon is the best choice is he's got the Conqueror's name. He wears the Conqueror's crown. He has the Conqueror's sword. It's like, oh, so cool. He's got a bunch of family heirlooms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can't even spell Conqueror, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. Well, and they talk about that in the book a lot, where most people knew that the reason that they did things the way they did with Aegon in front of all these people is because the mob is fickle, right? And they see all these things that to them are heroes' implements and like these legendary things, and so that gives weight to this choice. Whereas people that are smarter, and because there were dissenters even amongst the Red Keep and within the King's Landing saying that's not how this was supposed to go, and so the people would be like, "Hail Aegon," and then they talk about under their breath you would hear "Long live the Queen." So it was, even the people were constantly torn between the two and what they were doing. So, but yeah, this upcoming war is the worst thing to happen to the dragons, literal dragons, not like the house of the dragon, but like the actual dragons themselves in the whole history of the books and the stories. So,
okay, because I got to know what happens, JJ. You got to spill the beans.
You and I can talk offline. I'll tell you all about it.
I am dying to know, and I've been good so far in not looking stuff up.
Yeah.
But
I'll
it's
wait.
just such good intrigue that I got to know. I can't
wait
2 years.
I know. God, 2024, it's stupid. We can talk offline, but I don't want to.
Have they talked about how many more seasons? I mean, obviously, a season 2 is coming, but I'm curious if they've talked about what they think the shelf life of this will be.
No, they haven't. I don't think they've ever talked. I mean, obviously, like I said, they committed to season 2. I don't think. I've gone back and I've started reading, because I only read up until what we just watched to kind of refresh myself again. Mm-hmm. And so I need to go back, and I've started the other day to read past and get into the actual Dance of Dragons and these battles and things like that. So most of what I was saying about the future was coming off the top of my head, memory from reading it months back. But now I've started getting into it again because I want to see what season 2 is going to hold when we get there. And there's not a lot left before. I mean, time-wise, there's a decent amount. But events and major, most of it's just, they can fill in because there's little battles here and there, and there's a big march from the north down, and then there's Kristen Cole has this whole issue that he goes through. There's Jace gets into there's some other things going on with kings and princes and princes and princes, and it's there's a lot of there's some ugly fights coming, and there's some war crimes coming, because we've now witnessed the event that triggers any kindness from Rhaenyra is gone.
I was gonna say, you can tell with that face that she's gonna have no mercy.
Yeah, she's done, and so now Daemon gets to do his stuff, and so Blood and Cheese. His exact words were "a son for a son." So Rhaenyra lost one. He lost a stepson. Aegon will lose one. So everything is off the table at this point. Or anything. It's all, anything goes. It's all out war moving forward, and none of them play fair. It's ugly.
Good. I've had enough of playing fair.
Yeah, I've liked what they've done, and they've shown that interesting, weird, different side that you don't expect in this kind of a situation. But yeah, the gloves come off moving forward. It's not, once Luke goes down, it doesn't go well after that.
So I know that we've kind of been glowing about Matt Smith all season.
Yeah.
But the actor who plays Aemond,
man,
so good.
Yeah.
Is he in anything else
we
can watch? Because even just watching him in at Storm's End with the Baratheons, the way he stands is so intimidating.
Yeah.
Just, calm, collected, full of himself, but not like arrogant, just confident. And the fact that he is the biggest bad that ever is going to be, and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Alec, I watched an interview, and he talked about that's how he stands in front of the fridge every morning when he selects his meal. So
nice. I aspired to that greatness.
Is that for real?
No, it's totally made up. But it would be really. He's like, let me just select this piece of cheese.
I would love that.
I'm gonna start standing like that in front of my fridge.
I know.
Work on that pot. You're gonna scare some kids at your work.
No kidding. I'm trying to see.
JJ can develop a training on how to look intimidating.
That's right. I can.
Boom.
We'll tell you what not to do is wear a wizard costume.
Yeah, well, that is one of those things.
Unless you're so confident in your wizard costume, that you're throwing everybody else off, and they can't understand.
I don't think JJ wizard costume, at least what we saw, is going to intimidate the masses.
No, it didn't. It didn't work out very well. Ewan Mitchell is his name.
Ewan Mitchell.
Looks like he's been in a lot of TV series. The Last Kingdom. I didn't know he's in The Last Kingdom.
Okay.
Sugar Point, World on Fire, TV series. Nothing as far as.
Well, he'll go somewhere.
He was on the Halcyon. But yeah, movies. The only movies I don't. Just Charlie, High Life, then some shorts. So relatively young in his career. Yeah, he was good.
Because he's kind of been taking my favorite slot the last couple episodes.
Well, and I like, because it's like he's kind of Daemon's foil, right? Like he's Daemon 2.0. He's not grown out of his compassion yet. You know what I mean? Because there's still a little bit of, it's kind of like that regret that you see as the dragon, like this, they fall, right? He's like, son of a. Because that's now it's on, and he knows, well, I just screwed up, right? So it's like, but you can tell that he didn't want to do that. And like I said earlier in an episode, episode 4 or 5, something like that. These kids grew up together. Like there's only 4 or 5 years difference between Aemond and Lucerys. So it's not like these kids weren't growing up together in the Red Keep. They had friendships, and those things went sideways when you cut the dude's eye out. But at the same time, he was getting ready to smash his brother's head. So it's like, what are you going to do, right? So it's an intriguing idea but I think at this point now, and by the time his final battle happens, there's no more
kindness.
Like, this is. Yeah, they're war-torn at that point.
Do we need to sympathize with Aemond? Do they need to put a warning label on these dragons that says, warning, lethal animals. Like, what did he expect after he flew after him and they're flying in a storm? Like, oh, his dragon's gonna nudge the other dragon and Luke's gonna be fine. Like, the chances of doing whatever he was going to try to do going the way he wanted were like, I don't know, a 1% at that point. I feel like the kill meter just continued to rise for Luke at that point. I don't know. You just think of like you're horsing around with your brothers. At some point, you're kind of asking for the worst possible outcome to happen. And I feel Aemon was at that point. It's like, look, like you already intimidated him. You're chasing after him with a dragon that's like 10 times the size in a storm. Best case scenario is you catch him somehow and you cut out his eye. Worst case is you hit him and he falls off anyways. So I don't know. I think it's questionable judgment, clearly.
Oh, for sure. But I also think that's par for the course with a 19 and a 14-year-old,
sure.
Right? Like, I think that sometimes, because especially with Aemon, because the actor, like, dude looks like a man, right? Like he's not 19 in a lot of ways, because I mean he matured in a different way than the others. So it's like those kind of stupid decisions where, I like too that before they left, that even Rhaenyra talks about the saying that the Targaryens are closer to gods than they are men. And so it's like they have that idea and that feeling of infallibility where they're like, I'm on a dragon, I have complete control of my circumstance and where I'm at. And yeah, I'm just going to mess with my little nephew and put some fear in him, and that's the end of it. And then I'll chase him out of there because I won. I mean, at the end of the day, he won. The only thing he didn't get was the debt paid with his eye, right? He got Baratheons. He got his side of the whole thing done. So there's no recompense for him actually killing Lucerys. In fact, there's only downside to killing him. And I think Aemon knew that. Now he's going to have to own it. I mean, it's done now, but yeah. There is a part of the book where there's like a rumor, because again, remember the book comes from 3 different perspectives. And one of the perspectives says that Aemon flew down and found, because they found the head of Arax washed up to Storm's End like a couple days later.
Yeah, so I was going to say, how did they know?
Yeah, in the book, the Arax's head floats up and they find it. And then they never find the body of Luke. But what they do is there's a rumor that Aemon was still so mad that he went down and cut out both eyes and then gave them to his new wife as a gift. But then both 2 of the 3 accounts refute that and say that he was never found. And just, yeah. But Jeez. Mushroom really like to embellish. And it's really funny. There's some really extreme comments and ideas narration that are put in the book. And it always comes from the little court jester Mushroom.
What's his author's name again?
George R.R. Martin.
I got to see this guy. Because this dude has got a sick mind.
He looks like me, only older and a bigger beard.
Yeah, he
It's
does.
a very good way to put it, JJ.
Yeah.
So that was actually one of my questions I was going to ask you. Was Aemon going to own up to it? Because the only alternative is to kind of admit that you can't control your dragon.
Yeah. I don't know how they'll play that out. I mean, obviously,
because you've gone too far, right? If you admit that you can't control your dragon, Otto Hightower is not going to back down. You've crossed the threshold.
Sure.
But if you own up to, and that really wasn't the case, now you're going to be slapped in Westeros with the Kinslayer title.
When he is the rest of his life, he's not well. And it's not.
Oh, is that
longer,
spoilers?
But no, yeah, but that's he becomes Aemon Kinslayer for the rest of his short life. Sure. I mean, that's especially in that world, in that universe, that's not something you want. I mean, that's the only one that was even close to being worse was Kingslayer with Lannister. So, yeah, but Kinslayer you're cursed. And that's, yeah. So, but yeah, he becomes Aemon Kinslayer for the rest of his life.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously he does own it to a certain degree. I'm sure he will say, look, he attacked first.
Yeah.
Because that's an easy way out, which is true. I mean, technically, but he was close enough to hear that Luke wasn't in complete control of Arax any more than he was of Vagar. So,
and he's the one who initiated it by following him in the first place.
Exactly. Well, and I loved that. Like once Vagar's like, "Oh no, this," and she starts turning. He's like, "No, no, 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 no," because he's like, "Oh shit, I know what's coming right now. This is not going to go well," and it didn't. No, it did not.
They had really good mics in that scene to pick up those words.
Yeah, they projected really well.
It's all from the diaphragm.
That's right. I will say that again. I'm really bought in with Emma Darcy, the Rhaenyra, the actress who plays Rhaenyra. I was really concerned after the first 6 episodes that I wasn't going to like because I like the younger Rhaenyra so much that I wasn't going to like this. And the first episode she was in, I was like, this one really just solidified that because I like the way, she goes through some stuff.
She burns a baby or a dead baby for herself.
Yeah, stillborn baby by herself that turns out to be that they showed a little bit that had scales. And so it's intriguing because that's part of the book the book extends it and says that the rumor is that it had like a scaled tail, like it was part dragon, which was an interesting, strange, but that was all rumor. But she certainly gave birth to a stillborn girl. And that was she was also in the book, she blames, there's less of the compassion and the trying to not go to war than in the show. In the show, it shows her trying to have like the cooler mind and do it the smart, right way. In the book, she immediately blames Alicent. In fact, she's pretty sure she says that whore cost me my daughter or something like that. Like it's like she's a mad in the instant that, and she blames Alicent and the Greens and Otto on the miscarriage, and then immediately following, not long after, Luke's death. And so she's not as kind as they make her seem, at least in the book. Again, that's not very trustworthy narration when you look at it from where it's coming. But I really like the way she played it because she put on her big girl pants, as Casey would say, and said, "Look, I have bigger things. I'll deal with my grief." But she also was very not involved in the first act, if you want to call it, of the Dance of Dragons because of the stillbirth. Like she was in her birthing bed and like recovery bed for weeks and months after, while all of the preparations and a lot of the things that you see in this episode were happening. And then she comes and sends the boys out to go. She also sends her youngest. They didn't show her youngest, I think, is the one that goes to the north or the Vale. I don't remember, but she sends all 3 of her kids out. All 3 of the strong boys out anyway, to try to secure alliances. So it was an interesting, but I liked the episode. It's really good. It's good cliffhanger.
Well, find me in 2024.
Yeah.
And it's going to be late 2024.
Curse Westworld. I love it, but curse it.
It's probably coming around out this like August or September, October would be my guess.
Yeah, we'll probably have all 3 shows again, right?
We're going to be really busy in 2 years.
Yeah, 2024 is going to hurt again. I'm just saying, because Westworld has done this 2 years in between seasons thing, that's a lot of these big shows are like, oh, if they can do it and nobody's mad, we can probably do it too. And I'm okay with it as long as they utilize those 2 years and I get good stuff, because Westworld has always delivered. Even its worst season is better than some good. Yeah, even its worst season is better than some of the terrible shows' best season. So, yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we're done with House of the Dragon.
Cross another one off the list.
Yeah, check and done. That's weird to say. I was sitting there going, I got to get a podcast ready. And I was like, oh, we didn't have She-Hulk. I don't have a podcast to release on Tuesday. So I may release this episode on the podcast version, like the listening version tomorrow. I don't know, because I'm just like, this is weird.
It's been a while.
It's nice to have a little break, a little breather.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, there it is. Whose turn is it? I think it's Mattson's turn. Mattson, tell her where they can find us.
I don't do this as well as Alec has like prepared remarks at this
Dude,
point.
I got it, Mattson. If you want to pass the
I can turn it over to Mattson.
Let's give it to Alec. Alec he has youthful exuberance.
I'm not old and jaded of the
We're
podcast
all old
yet.
and jaded. Alec still loves it. I love it. All right, Alec. Tell everybody where they can find us.
Thank you for tuning in to our review of the season finale of House of the Dragon. Vala Morgulis to all of our listeners. We appreciate your listens, and if you enjoyed our episode, go ahead and hit the like button or share with friends or family, especially if you know someone who lives in South Dakota. As 3 years of releasing episodes is coming up fast on the road ahead, we as yet have not been able to break into the South Dakota market. So if you have the connections we need, share our podcast with that individual, and I will send you a bona fide What's Our Verdict mug for free. If you enjoy the podcast and want to support us directly, you can support us on Patreon to unlock some exclusive What's Our Verdict content. Thank you to our current patron, JJ Screaming Goats. You are what I've been looking for. Thank you once again all for your listens, and as always, let us know if our verdict matched with yours in the comments below.
Now,
you, JJ.
F Screaming Goats, aka Charles, because I'm about to watch something that's like the worst thing on this planet Earth. So I don't care.
You got at least a week until
I was gonna say I gotta watch it first. It's on its
Postal
way.
Service is broken up here. It only gets here by horse and buggy, so it'll probably take months. It's about the snow. Not gonna make it up here.
Horse and buggy.
Here's the problem: is before I mail it to you, I have some fancy technology that Alec doesn't that will allow me to rip it. So one way or another, I will have it for you. And in answer to Alec's opening for his Valar Dohaeris.
Hey.
I like it. I'm a nerd. So with that, as always, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cinemagic out.